Hey there, we're going to give this a go again. Leslie Karen Hammond here, the Empowering Story Whisperer. If you happen to catch this live, thank you so much. Running about 30 minutes behind, but you know what? It's all good. So, if this is new to you, joining me on these Wednesday night Facebook Lives, the intent is that you'll take away a little nugget of inspiration that will help you live your life with a little more grace. And this week's topic is called the art of inspiration. And regardless of what you do, what your career is or what your job is, I'm certain there is always going to be an element of creativity involved. Whether you're a landscape designer or a computer programmer or a cook, whatever the case may be, regardless of whether or not you need to get creative in the form of art, there is still an opportunity for you to solve problems creatively or to think outside of the box. So what this episode is focusing on is how you can find more ways to be creative, because inspiration can come in all different moments. But it was really important, just in case you are in a place where I used to be, in terms of being so busy, not having a lot of time to create, and really having to go to some extreme measures to make these windows of time. I'm sitting on a bed right now, so every time I move, it kind of bounces a little bit here. So trying to capture the best light. All right, anyway. So if you find that you need to be creative for either the civic organization you belong to, your church, maybe you're an entrepreneur, or if your employer needs you to be creative, and you're struggling to find those windows of time to be creative, I'd like to invite you to consider doing a few things that may change up the way you go about feeling like you can create. So for me, I might be inspired by seeing something beautiful, or by hearing music, or by smelling something really yummy, whether it's flowers or whether it's food. I tend to be really creative when it comes to food. Don't like following recipes. So regardless of how much creativity is in your life on a regular basis, whether or not you consider yourself quote unquote a creative, or even so, let's go to this for a minute. If you question whether or not you are a creative, here's one determining factor. You don't like rules. You don't like boundaries, and you like the freedom and the joy that comes with trying to figure something out using an out-of-the-box technique. So if you find that between family obligations and work obligations that you just don't have a lot of time to be inspired, that could, well, for one thing, you could be seriously run down and not just, you don't have the energy, because at the end of the day, believe me, if you are so wiped out that you just can't make your way to a book even to open it up, I feel you. I really feel your pain. So for you, if you desire to maybe to write, even if it's just a little bit, then here are a couple of things that you can think about in terms of capturing creativity when it hits you. So what used to be the story for me so long ago was that, being really busy, like you probably are, I would go to great lengths to schedule time to be creative. And it's like it used to be going on vacation. So before that creative time, there would be so much I had to do and so much that I had to wrap up so that my mind would be free, unencumbered, and I would make my lists and do everything I needed to do. And then by the time I sat down and it was, oh, hey there, thanks for joining us. And by the time I was ready to sit down and to create, I was either like extremely tired or my mind was still really wound up and I wasn't able to take advantage of the time that I gave myself. So for those of you out there who are either busy professionals or your parents and oh, hey there! Thank you for joining. Hi. So the topic of this, is the art of inspiration and finding windows of time to be creative. And 2 years ago, when I would go through all this work, just like preparing for vacation, to make time to be creative, and I would find the time, I would go hide away somewhere and I would sit down and I would find that my thoughts, it was almost like when people try to meditate, you can't clear your mind. All these things like kept coming up and coming up and coming up. And then I would get so frustrated and so angry because I was too busy focusing on all of these other things that I wasn't taking advantage of the time I gave myself to be creative. So if I had 30 minutes of time, 15 of it was probably spent beating myself up because I couldn't take advantage of the time. And then if I was lucky, I would, kind of talk myself off the edge, and then maybe I would create for 10 minutes or so. And then the last 5 minutes, I'd be so worried about everything else that I was supposed to be doing or that I'd forgotten to do before. Out of the 30 minutes, maybe I ended up with 10 quality creative minutes. So here's something that I invite you to try, because whether you need to come up with a creative lesson plan or maybe you just want to do something that feeds your soul, you can experiment with this. And I challenge you to try it. It will take practice. Is what if you could take a window of time that was 5 minutes and you could train yourself to feel like it was much longer? Because if you know that you have an entire afternoon where you don't have to do anything and you can just chill out, then it's so much easier to just kind of kick back and enjoy yourself. Whereas if you only have 5, 10, 15 minutes, it's so difficult to take a breath and to relax because it doesn't feel like it's a big enough window of time. So if you can practice, kind of call it bending time, if you will, but whenever you get a small window of time, is just take advantage of it. Pretend it's like a juicy peach and just really work and play in that brief window of time. 5 minutes, that's 360 seconds. When you say it that way, it sounds like a whole lot more time. But if you can play with the little windows of time that you have, just think of what you can do. And if you're a mom or if you're someone who is seems to be always on call and you can't find an extra 5 minutes, try spending 5 more minutes in the shower. Usually if the shower's running, okay, well, maybe not all the time if you have young kids, but an extra 5 minutes in the shower could buy you a little bit of quiet time. When you go to the grocery store, sit in the car for an extra 5 minutes, either before you go in or when you come out. Turn your phone off. The world will not come to an end if you turn your phone off for 5 minutes. And just take advantage of all of these little pockets of time. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can realize how juicy these little windows of time are, and you'll want to expand on them. And you'll want to add just a little bit more time and just a little bit more time. And before you know it, it becomes a practice because you can appreciate the value of having that quiet time. Everyone needs to recharge their batteries. I don't care who you are. Everyone needs that downtime, and you really need to be able to just quiet down a little bit. And whether it's breathing or whether it's just sitting with your eyes closed, if it's like my dad and you can sit in the lazy boy and then it's almost like a switch and then your eyes just close and you're out. Whatever it is, but it's so important for for your health and your well-being, for you to be able to just be still just for a little while. So in some of the other episodes, we talked about meditation, and how a lot of times when people go to meditate, they think that you have to sit there and go for 30 minutes, and just like that creativity when I was talking about earlier, when I couldn't clear my mind and focus. You could make this meditative time, or this this regeneration creative time, you could make it being in the garden and getting your hands in the soil. There are so many simple things that can really become a soul food practice and a regenerative practice, that you get much better at doing them. And the more you do it, the better you'll get, the more you will value. And additionally, the more you'll find yourself inviting other people to do the same. So your partner, for example, if you notice that they're getting a little bit stressed out, they can use some downtime, then offer them a little window of time to just go and to chill out, or do something that really feeds them and helps them to feel better. So it's really, I can't say how important it is. So the free giveaway for this episode is got some tips on how to find me time. So if you go to LeslieKarenHammond.com/7, so the number 7, me time. So LeslieKarenHammond.com/7 me time. There's a worksheet there that will give you some pointers on how you can go about finding some time for you, because inspiration will not generally happen in a flux of chaos. So it's really important that you find these little pockets of time. And if music is something that really helps to calm you down a little bit and will inspire you, then put together a series of tracks that you like so that you can listen to them and pull on that inspiration. And if you can find any way just to give yourself a little time where you can sit down and do absolutely nothing, you would be surprised. And if you find that you start getting these ideas and things like totally out of the blue, use the Note app on your phone and dictate it or type it in there, and keep a record of all of these things that come to you that really inspire you. And look at all the plethora of ideas that you will have when you can go back later. There are so many things that have the potential to inspire you, and truly you can make inspiration an art. You could make it a practice. And I strongly invite you to consider finding a way to really make this time juicy. You could find, by going to a museum and staring at a painting, that something comes to you, or by taking a walk on a beach, or finding a shell or finding a stone and taking a few moments to stare into it. And you'd be amazed at what you will see. Well, I'm going to keep this really brief because I'm running behind schedule a little bit today, and the timing of this, it's not what I expected it to be, but it's all good. So this episode was about the art of inspiration, and inviting you to really make some time, even if it's small windows of it, to take a few breaths and find something that is food for the soul, that will replenish you and recharge you, and just take a few minutes and do it. And if you find that you tend to get stressed out really easy, then maybe take a photograph or find something online and keep this picture on your phone or print it out and put it next to your desk so that you have something you can take a look at and help to relax you and to be inspired on a moment's notice. So thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to, if you want the worksheet on how to find more me time, go to LeslieKarenHammond.com/7 me time. And I also invite you to ask about a Facebook group that I've started. It's called Divine by Design. So if you'd like a little tidbit of daily inspiration, feel free to, to ask about it. Be happy to add you to the group, and you'll find little bits of inspiration in there that might help you get through the day. Because the more that we can all live in a state of grace, then the better we will show up and serve our families and our communities and our employees or our employers. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Lots of love and light. Until next time, take care and be inspired. Bye for now.